Know this, some of you might not, so we'll do a quick review. Can everybody say mitzvah?
Mitzvah.
Goreret.
Goreret.
Mitzvah.
A good deed leads to another good deed.
Very good. Cantor Doug is in my class. He's been learning. Yeah. So, a good deed leads to another good deed, all right? Now, I need everybody to go, woo! Woo! So we got so excited about this good deed that we go, woo! Woo! All right, very good.
Wait. The woo was good,
yeah,
but I didn't see the hands go with the woo. So can we try that one more time? 1, 2, 3.
Woo! All right.
That's going to be much better. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. All right, here we go. First part of the song goes like this. A mitzvah, goreret mitzvah. Woo! Very nice. Now, can everybody say avera?
Avera.
Goreret.
Goreret.
Avera.
Avera.
Now, Cantor Doug, do you remember what this means?
Yes, it means a bad thing leads to another bad thing.
Very good. And so, or it's very bad, and so we say, ah-ow. Very good. So, avera, goreret, avera. Ah-ow, mitzvah, goreret, mitzvah. Goreret, mitzvah. Ya la 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 la. Very nice. So, there's only a woo in the beginning. I love the enthusiasm, though.
Yeah.
All right, we're trying that again. A mitzvah, goreret, mitzvah. Woo! Avera, goreret, avera. Ow, mitzvah, goreret, mitzvah. Goreret, mitzvah. Ya la 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 la. Very nice. Now, can everybody say lihiot?
Lihiot.
Tzadik.
Tzadik.
All right, and then say zetov.
Zetov.
All right, but when I say zetov, you say zetov. So
after you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like don't you remember in the concerts when they're like, when I say zetov, you say zetov.
Yes.
Zetov.
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 It's just like that. Yeah. All right, very nice.
So wait. Lihiot Tzadik.
Yes.
To be a good person.
Yes. Very good.
Zetov. That's a good thing.
That's right.
All right.
What do I teach my Madrichei Shira? What do we do for zetov? What do we say? We say zetov.
Zetov.
2 thumbs up. All right. So, all together, lihiot. Lihiot Tzadik. Zetov.
Zetov.
A zetov.
Zetov.
A lihiot Tzadik. Zema zetov me'od. So it's so good. We're gonna say tov me'od. Let's do that one more time, and then we'll go through the whole song. Ready? Here we go. A lihiot Tzadik. Zema zetov me'od. Mitzvah goreret mitzvah. Woo! Avera, goreret, avera. Mitzvah, goreret, mitzvah. Goreret, mitzvah. Ya la 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 la. Lihiot tzadik. Lihiot tzadik. Zetov.
Zetov.
A zetov.
Zetov.
A lihiot tzadik. Zema zetov me'od. Mitzvah. Last time. Woo! Avera, goreret, avera. Mitzvah, goreret, mitzvah. Goreret, mitzvah. Ya la 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 la. Very nice.
Thank you, Madrichei Shira. You'll be back later on, of course. If you have a prayer book near you, turn to the very last page in the prayer book, page 388. There should be a page of lyrics in the book there, page 388, as we sing Or Zarua. Or Zarua Latzadi, Ulish Velev Simcha. Or Zarua Latzadi, Ulish Velev Simcha. Zaru halatzadik ulish velev simcha. Or zaru halatzadik ulish velev simcha. There is a light. What makes it grow? When I do right, it becomes mine, straight from the heart. Life overflows where there's a light. makes it grow, where it will lead, there I will go, straight from the heart. The truth never fails, where there's a light, justice prevails.
Shabbat Shalom. It is so wonderful to celebrate Shabbat with all of you here. Thank you to our crew, Nina. Who else helped with the dinner today? Susie, Nina, Star, Marcy, Karen,
and Luis,
and all of you who put together a delicious dinner for us. I know you were up here early setting up, and you made it a warm, wonderful thing. Thank you all for being with us here for Shabbat. Welcome to our Ora Mikoral, to our fantastic musicians, to all who will be participating in our service, our interns, but mostly, welcome to all of you. Because in a week of running around, just getting back from the exhausting quietness of New Year's and before, we're back here with family, being grateful to have this time together, to celebrate Shabbat, to lay back into the warmth of community. A special welcome to all of you who are worshiping with us via the live stream. Hello to Maya, and I know you're having a Rabbi Rick Jacobs Shabbat watching party in your dorm room off at college, and I know the Millers are out there celebrating with us. Make sure you text me or let me know you're all out there so I can feel your warmth and presence. Thank you to Bronze Productions for making it possible for us to live stream our services. And so we are here, Cantor Doug Kotler, Rabbi Julia Weiss, and myself, as we celebrate Shabbat, as we get ready to learn from and with Rabbi Rick Jacobs, the president of the Union for Reform Judaism, our national organization, dear friend to us, a teacher, a West Coast boy, but you'll hear about all that later. I know we have a number of our board members here with us tonight and past presidents. I'm going to ask you all to come up on the bima as we light Shabbat candles. It's on page 2 in your prayer book. Page 2. Technology.
It's
So listen, it's pretty easy. The Hebrew is lie, lie, lie. The English is lie, lie, lie. If you want to do the Russian, it's lie, lie, lie. And then we have some Hebrew. You can do the Hebrew, you can do the lie, lies, you can do both. But just sing. We're going to start on page 28, and then we're going to go to page 30. Please rise for Baruch Hu. Lie, lies.
Please turn to page 34. We'll be there momentarily. Pharaoh would not listen to Moses when asked to let the Hebrews go worship in the desert. As this week's Torah portion outlines, the final few plagues before Pharaoh relents, we encounter Pharaoh with a hardened heart, closed off to the pleas and repressed people. But Pharaoh didn't care. Instead, he remained rigid, only acquiescing with the 10th plague, the death of the firstborn, when he awoke to find his own beloved son dead. Yet even then, Pharaoh quickly changed his mind, chasing the Hebrews into the Red Sea. His heart was hardened against listening to Moses, against listening to the needs of his people. Pharaoh was even hardened against the love the Israelites had for God. In traditional liturgy, the Shema is bookended by two prayers. Ahavat Olam, preceding the Shema, focuses on love, specifically God's love for the people Israel, reminding us of God's presence. Even in Egypt, where we felt that love swallowed up by Pharaoh's hatred, we experience God's love internally as the hope of redemption. The prayer following Shema Ve'ahavta speaks of the way we might express our love for God. The two prayers sandwiched together, and they remind us that Shema in the middle is about the love that surrounds us, God's and that of communities of love, like Orami and like that of the Union for Reform Judaism. Without the ability to love, to experience love and the power that that love brings to our lives, we cannot listen well. We become closed off to the world, tired and unable to continue. Pharaoh suffered from a hard heart, a heart devoid of love until his precious son died. Our prayers serve us as a protective mechanism against ending up like Pharaoh by ever reminding us of love. May we continually appreciate the love we experience in the world, allowing it to permeate our hearts. May we know love and share it with others. And most importantly, may we listen to the whispers of love in this community, in our homes, in our hearts. May we feel their presence, their love, as we together sing Listen and then Shema.
If you're lost, you feel afraid, and you don't know what to say, then listen to our God. Is there a question on your mind? Is the answer hard to find? Then listen to our God. Listen with all your heart and soul, and with all your mind. Write them and learn them and teach them well, every morning and night. Close your eyes. Quiet yourself, there's nothing to say. Stop all the chatter and get in the way. Listen to our God. When the wind and the thunder finally disappear, there's still a voice that you will hear if you listen to our God. You can hear it from the top of the highest hill, from the valley below of the universe. It can come from within your soul. Close your eyes. Let's rise and we'll sing Shema together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod, Malevito Leolam Vaed. Listen to our God. Listen to our God. Please be seated. So Rachel.
Micha Mocha on page
40.
40.
page 44. And as you do that, just a brief introduction. We are so blessed to have several interns each year at ORME. This year you heard from rabbinic intern Alana Nematoff, and you are about to hear the beautiful voice of our education intern Tammy Cohen, and later you will hear from rabbinic intern Meir Bargeron. So we are very blessed to have them.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael Oti le'olam Beni uvein b'nei Yisrael Oti ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש בני ובני ישראל אותי לעולם בני ובני ישראל אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת
The Amidah is on page 48. We'll chant the first prayer together and then pray silently. Please rise on page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotzeinu Elohei Avraham וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא תקווה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, עזרת שרה.
Praying silently through page 60-61, either the words on the page or those in your heart. When you are finished, please be seated. Rabbis teach that we're supposed to say 100 blessings a day. Now, as we've talked about before, they were thinking of every Baruch Atah Adonai in the service that one prays 3 times daily, so they get really close. But the idea is like when Michelle and I took the 2 younger boys, Rachel was at summer camp, on a cross-country trip. And the only 2 rules, one was when we wanted to take a picture, you had to smile. And the second one was when either mom or dad said, look up and notice, they had to stop what they were doing and look up and notice. The rabbis wanted us to say blessings, say thank you, say wow, say praise. Because there's so much in this life, even amidst the challenges and the arguments and the politics and the loss and more, there's so much to be grateful for. But if, like our kids, and apparently like their dad these days, you get stuck in your cell phone or whatever that thing is going on inside, we miss it all. So I'm going to ask you to go with me for a second. Close your eyes. And I'm not going to ask you to count to 100. And I'm not even going to ask you to count to 18. But I want you to think about 3. I want you to think over the last couple of days, today if you can. And I want you to find 3 things for which you say thank you. Saying, wow, I am grateful for this. Don't look for the sea splitting. And if you're thinking about your family, then go specific. If it's my wife, say, like me, I would say the ability to just download the challenges of the day with someone who listens. Find those 3 moments and hold on to them, and I'll be back. hold on to those pieces of gratefulness. Because this is an amazing life. It's a gift of moments precious and dear, profound in joy, profound too in sorrow. Just yesterday, Cantor Doug and I were with our congregants Kurt Gorlick and Penny Spark as she moved to take her last breath. The cancer came on quickly, too quickly. And yet, because she spent the last weeks and even months holding on and opening her eyes and looking up, and they did with each other, she left knowing he was filled with love, and he let her go knowing the depth of what they had together. This is an amazing life, a gift of moments glorious and holy, rich in laughter, rich with tears. Call into your mind one of those moments of gratitude, of blessing. Smile at the edges, hold on to it, and repeat after me. Modim anachnu lach. We are thankful to you. This is an amazing life, a gift, a song, a fantastic story of solitude and adventure, a tale of darkness and light, a psalm of frailty and endurance, a poem written in time and motion, stillness and silence, in shouts and whispers, in mourning and in wondrous celebration. Pull up your second one. Notice how easily you might have missed this. And repeat after me. Modim anachnu lach. We are grateful to you. This is an amazing life, a river of blessings, a gift to cherish. In awe and wonder, we see, blessed are the gifts of life. Blessed is the giver of life. Call up that third one. You almost missed this one, many of you. We're rushing so much. Feel the warmth it brought you. Remember that it's yours to experience again each of these. This idea of gratitude, of holiness is yours. If each morning as you wake up before you get out of bed, or each night before you turn off the light, or over breakfast, or driving in the car, you make a list, a mental note of 3 things every day you're thankful for. Blessed is the gift of life. Blessed is the giver of life. Blessed is this amazing life. Repeat after me. Modim anachnu lach. We are grateful to you.
Is it just me, or do the days, these days go by so much more quickly than they did? So many strange things going on, so many pieces of the puzzle that don't fit. I watch the sunset on the western sea. Light plays on the water, and it feels to me that I am blessed to be here despite all the unrest and how it may appear. I'm grateful For what I'm about to receive, let me be grateful for all that I've achieved. And when I'm looking for a place to hide, when I feel broken inside, remind me, grateful. That's how I want to be. Just look around, it doesn't take that much to be confused. Don't get upset when the world is upside down and what you see is not always what you get. There've been so many things I should have done, and so many others that I would not have done had I known then what I know today. But then again, I'd not have learned along the way to be grateful. When it's not quite how I imagined, I'll be grateful for the lights and sound and action. When I can't tell wrong from right, when I'm wound up far too tight, release me, grateful. That's how I want to be. How much you push, how much you're pulled, how much you wait, how much you wish, how much you pray. And if you don't get what you want, then what you want's not what you needed anyway. Zoom out the camera lens and what do you see? Earth, the moon, the planets, and the galaxy. And I am just a speck of dust, lost somewhere in my own universe. Grateful, Modim anachnu lach, we sing and we are faithful, and give thanks for everything, for all that's said and done, for all that's yet to come. Help me, grateful. That's how I want to be. Grateful. Grateful.
Once on the edge of a forest there was a palace. It was magnificent. And inside this palace lived a prince. He had a happy life, this prince. But he was told from the time that he was a child that whatever he did, he must not go into the forest. For if he goes in, he will get lost. His parents had told him, "You will not be able to find your way out." And so his whole life, he stayed away from going into the forest. One sunny day, as he walked near the forest, the prince's curiosity overcame him. What harm could there really be if I just take a peek inside? Even from the edge, he could hear strange and wonderful sounds, and he could see birds with beautiful feathers. So he walked a few steps in to see the trees. They'd never seen these bubbling streams. He found himself drawn deeper and deeper and deeper into the forest. Only then did he realize he had become hopelessly lost. Frantically, he went from one path to the next, looking around, wanting to retrace his steps, with no luck. That night he slept in the forest, alone and afraid. The next day he resumed his wandering, desperately looking for some way out. He searched all that day and the following day, but couldn't find his way out. By the end of the third day, he reached the point of despair. Just as he was on the verge of losing all of his hope, he spied a very old man. "Thank God I found you," said the prince, running to him. "I can't find my way out. Please, there's got to be a way out. I've been here for 3 days." "3 days?" laughed the old man. "I've been lost for 3 years." The prince's hope fell. "Then you're no use to me," he said. "Ah," said the old man, "that is where you are wrong. For though I don't know which path leads out of these woods, I know 100 paths that do not. Come together, and we will find our way." Come together, and we will find our way. So many of us feel lost. Whether we can't seem to find what makes us happy, or what motivates us, or what grounds us, or we're battling an addiction, depression, anxiety, or fear. We are out of our homes or mourning the loss of our homes due to the fires. Whether we are mourning the recent death of a loved one, struggling to pay bills or find a job, caring for a loved one who is sick, or whether we ourselves are in pain. We don't have to face these alone. In fact, we shouldn't. We are each other's navigators through the forest. We are Kehila Kedosha, a holy community that walks hand in hand, helping one another through that physical and emotional pain. Until we together find the path towards healing, I invite you to walk on that healing path through the forest together by sharing the names aloud of those we're thinking of this evening in need of healing and their relationship to you. Tonight, we ask for blessings of healing for
our daughter-in-law, Sally Frankel.
My friend Rebecca.
Men and women of the U.S. military.
Friend Marcy. Stan and Allie. Friends.
My niece, Leslie Phelps.
Oh God, heal us now.
On the song sheet. Rifa'enu Adonai v'nerafe Hoshienu v'nivashea El karov lechol korav ach karov lireav isho We pray for healing of the body We pray for healing of the soul, for strength, flesh and mind and spirit. We pray to once again be whole. Oh, please heal us now. הנפש ורפואת הגוף, רפואה שלמה. Heal us now. Heal us now. הושיע את עמך וברך את נחלתך ורעים ונעשים עד העולם. מי שברך אבותינו, מי שברך אמותינו, ענה אדוני הושיענה. We pray for healing of our people. We pray for healing of the land, for strength, every race and nation, every child, every woman, every man. Ela refana. Oh, please heal us now. רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, רפואה שלמה. Hela refana. Oh, please heal us now. רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, רפואה שלמה. Heal us now. Heal us now. Heal us now.
A meditation by Alden Salavi. The last moment. What if this is the last moment of creation? The last moment we have to share our joy, our hope, our love. What if this is the last moment with you on earth? The last chance to feel your breath, your heart, your surrender. When you depart, the world will remain full of mystery and wonder. What if this is the last moment with me on earth? The last chance to offer my hand, my smile, my strength. When I depart, the world will remain full of glory and holiness. What if this is the last moment we have together? The only chance we have to share our awe, our power, our peace. When we say goodbye, the world will remain. The sky will continue to fill with radiance. The core of the earth will still burn, molten hot with passion for living. And light from the edge of the universe, light from the day when God spoke and the world came to be, will reach my face and will warm your heart. While death ends our relationships with those we lost, those relationships don't end. They endure. As individuals and as a community, we remember them with eternal love. We have come to the moment in our service when we remember those who are no longer with us, those who have died recently or in years past. We remember them with open hearts. As is our tradition at Ora Mi, as my hand moves across the room, I invite you to share the name of those who you are remembering tonight and their relationship to you. Tonight we remember
My father, my mother, and my sister.
Men and women of the U.S. military.
My sister Vanessa.
I invite you to turn to page 294, and if it is comfortable for you, please rise for Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach cherutei ve'amlik malchutei, v'chayachon u'vyamachon u'v'chayeh dekol beit Yisrael, bagalav rizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavarach le'olam ul'me'al maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitparar v'yitnoram v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'yishirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'akol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, Aleinu ve'akol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated.
Our rabbinic intern, Alana, reminded us that the Shema is surrounded by love, to remind us that love can surround us. And we sang V'shamru with our education intern, Tammy, to remember that the sign of the covenant between God and the Jewish people is Torah, and Torah is all about chesed, about God's overflowing loving kindness. And our rabbinic intern, Meir, just reminded us of the love that flows through it all, the eternal love. What is love? Not just of a spouse or partner, but what's love in all its fullness, friend and companion and community and country and people. What is that love like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Maybe this.
Listen to the wisdom inside
Our biblical King David of Jerusalem once said, "I gained my understanding, my wisdom from my teachers." Our teachers help shape us, inspire us, challenge us. Rabbi Rick Jacobs is a true teacher. Rabbi Jacobs spent 20 years as a visionary spiritual leader at Westchester Reformed Temple in Scarsdale, New York. And for the past 6 years, Rabbi Jacobs has served as the president of the Union for Reform Judaism. His leadership has taught thousands of Reformed Jews to embrace change, to create innovative and visionary congregations and institutions. His words have inspired Reformed Jews from around the country to work harder for inclusivity, to support Israel wholeheartedly, and to promote and participate in social justice efforts in order to truly tikkun olam, repair our world. Rabbi Rick Jacobs is a mensch. He is a kind and compassionate rabbi who leads with his whole self, his kindness and compassion. We are incredibly blessed and honored to have Rabbi Jacobs at Congregation Orami. Thank you for inspiring and motivating and challenging so many of us in your leadership. Thank you for being my teacher and for being our teacher. We gain our wisdom from you and your leadership. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My mom would probably say, just go home now, Rick.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rabbi Julia. So we actually have this meeting pretty regularly to try and schedule visits to different congregations. So we were sitting a while back, and January 11th came up, and this wonderful woman who works on our kind of URJ schedule, she says, Rick, we got a couple of interesting ideas. You've been invited to Duluth, Minnesota. And Calabasas, California. I said, well, this is going to be a tough call. Did you say June 11th? She said, no, I said January 11th. I said, you know, let's just sort of randomly do this. Calabasas is where we'll be. But it turns out, actually, that Calabasas is where I feel very blessed to be. And the weather is nice. But this congregation is simply inspirational. It says in this week's Parsha, we learn about the last plagues. The second to last plague is the plague of darkness. We're told what that plague actually felt like. We're told, V'lo ra'u ish et achiv, that people couldn't see their brother or their sister. And then in chapter 10, verse 23, it says, Ulechol b'nei Yisrael haya or b'moshvotam. But in all the dwellings of the people of Israel, there was light. Or Ami, the light of my people. This is a moment and this is a place that is known real darkness. The darkness of fires, the darkness of shootings, the darkness of homelessness and loneliness. But somehow amidst this plague, which is not from long ago and far away, no, this plague is right here in your midst. But here at Or Ami, B'nai Yisrael haya or b'moshvotam. There is light here. You know that light. You are part of that light. And it is my privilege to be in the presence of such bright light in the midst of a moment of such extraordinary darkness. You got a pretty amazing group of leaders here. Can I just point out the obvious to you? I mean, yeah, there are a bunch of rabbis and cantors out there in the world, but I think this would be what we would call in Aramaic an all-star team. Okay, let me just start with Rabbi Kipnis, because this guy, also, as we say in Aramaic, he's got it going on. When we asked him this year to write a commentary for every single one of the parshiot in the book of Genesis, there are a lot. But that voice, that rabbinic clear voice of both spiritual depth and wisdom and creativity and playfulness came out in every single one of those. This Rabbi Kipnis at Camp Newman is the dean of the faculty of lots and lots of rabbis who are all very wonderful, but he somehow brings out the best in all of us. What a gift, Rabbi Kipnis, to be in your presence. I don't know what's going on in northern Minnesota, but it can't hold even a little teeny candle to the light that emanates from you. Cantor Cutler, we did something at a URJ biennial that had never been done. It was in Dallas, Texas, just 5,000 of our close personal friends from all over the Reform movement. And at that moment, services on a Friday night at a biennial, which is the gathering of all of the leaders from all over North America. Don't fall off. Don't fall off. I told you to stay right there. We would have more, I would say, traditional types of music and traditional types of prayer. But with your leadership, the idea was, could we actually have a band? Could we have music that actually coursed through people's entire being? And there were plenty of people, Cantor Cutler, who said, no, 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 no. But that changed not just biennial. That gave people a sense of what music could become within our worship. And you were not just the one. You are the instigator and the spark that has kindled a new way for all of us to worship. It is a privilege to be in your presence. And Rabbi Julia, don't you think for one moment here that there's nothing left, like in The Wizard of Oz, What's he got for me? You have the gifts that we pray are in each one of our rabbis. The gift of, first of all, being able to grow and educate a community, to stand for justice, but to do so with a loving backbone, and to have the ability to bring change and be change. We are all watching what you do and who you are. Now you're thinking, well, it's not just the Clay Kodesh, it's not just the clergy, it's also the lay people. Where's Fred sitting? Where's our president? Where are you hiding? So that's, first of all, I love a president. Doesn't have to be right up front. I met your president, Fred Gruber, at our Scheitz seminar, which is our boot camp for incoming temple presidents. And when we had a chance to talk about where he served and with whom he served, it was clear that you have extraordinary sacred partnership, which allows you to do something extraordinary. Now, can I just tell you something that's obvious? There are synagogues that are a bit fancier. I hope I'm not breaking any new news here. There are synagogues that are even slightly larger. But I don't know of a synagogue in our almost 900 synagogues that has the spirit and the sense of community and the interconnectedness of what you together have built. Because again, you can have Clay Kodesh, you can have clergy, you can have great lay leaders, but if you don't have a community that's ready to be brought together and to stand together and to be together, it's not a community. So where places focus in on the building and on the bricks and mortar and on all those things, you focus in on the ikar, the essence, and the thing that matters most. Yeah, you could clap for that. So Fred, I don't know if this is going to be a good idea or just you'll ask me to hold this thought. But I was privileged last week to be in Washington, D.C. on January 3rd because a former president of one of our Reformed congregations was being sworn into the U.S. Senate. I'm just saying.
Go, Fred.
Just saying. Turns out Jackie Rosen was at Scheit's seminar also, and she did pretty darn well. She learned the lessons of how do you really build community. She said she learned more about what it means to lead in her congregational role than she did in her first go at the U.S. Congress as a representative. And then she won a Senate seat. And I just want to tell you, this is a woman, and by the way, people say, aren't you supposed to be partisan, Rabbi Jacobs? I mean, we're a big movement with all different political ideas, and we are. And every time a past president of a URJ congregation is sworn into the U.S. Senate, I will be there. Regardless of the party, regardless of anything. But I want to tell you, this past president, Jackie Rosen, decided she wanted to be sworn in on a Bible, a Hebrew Bible, the oldest Hebrew Bible printed in the United States of America from 1814. It usually rests in the Library of Congress. She got a special dispensation to bring it out so she could swear her oath on that Bible. And she is a person of extraordinary integrity. What a model. Gave me such hope. Now you're thinking, which of the two parties is she a part of? She's a part of one of them. But I also had the opportunity to go with Rabbi Jonah Pesner to offer congratulations to the new senator from Utah, Mitt Romney. And Jonah had worked with Mitt Romney when he was the governor of Massachusetts and when they had brought affordable health care to Massachusetts. So we went in and we congratulated Mitt Romney and wished him well. And there was a moment of hope that in the nation's capital that I think you've probably caught the news has not been working so closely for the greater good of our people. There was a new sense of possibility and hope. We also brought, with all of our staff of the Religious Action Center in Washington, D.C., we brought a babka to each new member of Congress. And can I tell you, they may not remember all the literature that we brought, but I can tell you they will remember that we were there. 102 women are now in our U.S. Congress. In 1989, there were 29 women. In 2019, there are 34 Jews serving in the U.S. Congress. There are 8 Jewish senators. Do the math. Out of 100, that means for people who are just hovering a little bit below, somewhere in the 1%, we're 8% of the U.S. Senate. This is light. This is the light of integrity. So let me offer, if I can, a reflection. I was doing something that people in California don't do very often. I was in a hurry. I can say that because I grew up in Orange County, so I do come from these parts. So let me just say what I want to say about California. I love California. But I was in New York City, and I had to get down all the way to the tip of Manhattan for a meeting, and I was in a hurry, and nothing was moving. The subways weren't going, the buses weren't going, the people weren't going, everything was just stuck. And I'm walking down the sidewalk, and I look to my left, there's an African-American man. I look to my right, there's a Latina woman. And I don't know them, but they're also not moving very quickly on the sidewalk. And I'm trying to think, is there another way to do this? And I'm looking at my watch, and I'm looking at the traffic, and I thought, this is not going to go well. So I picked up the pace, and I started to jog. And lo and behold, my partners on the sidewalk start to jog with me. And we're moving pretty good when all of a sudden we see them blocking the whole road. Why? It was the Chabad mitzvah tank. I said, why? So I thought, maybe I'll just duck down the side road and go around. They said, no, you're a Jewish leader. Don't do that. Just keep going. And so the three of us are walking towards the Chabad mitzvah tank, and the Chabad rabbi looks at the three of us, and he picks me out. And he says, excuse me, are you Jewish? I said, yes. are you? May I tell you something? He's still standing there. He couldn't speak. He just started to point. He pointed at his black fedora. He pointed at his beard, his payas, his tzitzit, his long black coat. He just kept pointing. And I said, you know, appearances are not always reality. And I kept walking. Now, I don't tell you that story because I have anything less than love for Chabad. I count Rabbi Yehuda Krinsky, the leader of Chabad, as a colleague and even as a mentor and a friend. I tell you that story because that rabbi and too many people in Jewish life have a very outmoded idea about who is Jewish. How in the world in 2019 could somebody look at three people and guess who's Jewish? It is just as likely in this moment that I would be the one non-Jew among the three of us walking down the sidewalk. Nobody looks Jewish. Jewishness isn't a kind of last name. It's not an ethnicity. Judaism is how we choose to live a life of holiness and commitment. And if we start to widen our understanding of who we are as a Jewish people, we actually are much more numerous than people think. Do you have any idea how large the Reformed Jewish movement is? If you go with the 2013 Pew study, and boy, there are little problematic aspects of that study, but that study determined that just shy of 2 million people in North America identify with the Judaism of Reformed Judaism. Think about this. Between 10 and 20% of Jews on the planet are Jews of color. How many of our congregations, how many of our Jewish institutions have between 10 and 20% of those who participate are Jews of color? Think about the LGBTQ community. The Reform movement was the first of all of Jewish life to say, you are part of us. How many of us imagined when Rabbi Alexander Schindler, of blessed memory, said about interfaith families, come close. This is a chance for us to bring more people more deeply into Jewish life. Our numbers could be much larger. How about the people who used to be connected and are no longer? How about those who never were? If we actually have a broader idea of who we are, we could be a whole lot larger than we are. And is that the main idea, to be larger? If our job on this planet is to be a force for good, then frankly, having more hands and hearts and heads will help us get to where we need to go more quickly and more effectively. Can I read you something that I actually quoted at the first time I had a chance to address the entire movement at the San Diego Biennial? It's a quote from a congregation in Calabasas. And it's about who you are and how you have been the trailblazers. Listen to this quote about you. We are also Mosaic in that we connect back to Moses, a Hebrew child raised by Egyptians who married a non-Jewish woman of color and became the leader of his people. So this isn't actually a brand new idea. It's not as if this is the distant future we're talking about. This is how your congregation articulated who you are and who is welcome within these walls. No, it is possible that we become that best expression of who we could be, not someday, but now and here. Thank you, Orami, for shining light on who we are in our core. You're a leader congregation. There are leaders who are people and there are leaders who are communities. You are a leader congregation by how you do your holy work. The opening of this week's parsha says, Bo el Paro. The word bo means come, el Paro, Paro, Pharaoh. It literally means come to Pharaoh. But you know that's not how we translate it. The way we translate it is go to Pharaoh, right? But it should say in Hebrew, lech el paro, go to Pharaoh. So the commandment to Moses to go is actually bo, come. It's confusing. It doesn't seem right. Maybe it's a scribal mistake. No, Menachem Mendel of Kutz, the Kutzker Rebbe, said, no, that's very deliberate. God is everywhere. So what God says is bo el paro, come to Pharaoh. God says, I'm going to go with you. Because what you're going to have to do with Pharaoh isn't going to be easy. So I'm going to be there with you. Friends, we are in a moment where we need God to come with us because we've got holy work to do. We've got to stand up. The shooting that took place just minutes from where we're seated, praying for peace on this Shabbat, was a shooting that should never have happened. If we're the only shooting in U.S. history, it would be one too many. But join me in remembering this wasn't the only shooting. Where are some of the other horrific places of slaughter just in the last couple of years here in the United States of America? Can you call out for me, where are those places? Pittsburgh. Las Vegas. Parkland. Redlands. Orlando. Keep going. San Bernardino. We could actually stay here all night reciting these. But frankly, this is a moment where bo el paro, we need to go with God to Pharaoh, and we have got to do something to stop the slaughter. Now, there's not a simple way to do that, but there's a simple way not to do that. The simple way not to do that is just for us to say, well, it's just too complicated. There are too many different interests, and we can't really move the needle, but we can and we will. Has anybody ever said the following? What's the matter with kids today? Right? I think if someone could actually do it in a song, I couldn't. Kendra Doug, you could do it in a song, I couldn't. Yeah. But can I tell you, I'm actually not a person who believes there's any truth in that. What's the matter with kids today? Actually, our young people are leading us, not tomorrow, right now, today. And by the way, some of the spectacular singing going on here, you were fabulous, you guys were amazing, and I loved the voices. And I had a chance earlier to meet with some of the leaders of your teen community. No, the future is not in their hands, the present is. And on reducing gun violence prevention, just listen to one story. So right after Parkland's, when the whole world was feeling, what has gone so incredibly wrong? A group of teens from Parkland got on a bus and drove from Parkland to Tallahassee so they could meet with some of the elected officials and say, this is not right. And on their way up, the Religious Action Center, our Reformed Jewish arm in Washington, D.C., did a little training to remind them about how you show up in elected officials' offices and how you can really effectively advocate for change. And one of those young leaders, who's now the nifty Vice President of Social Action, her name is Zoe Turner, they walked into one of these elected officials' offices, and the gentleman said, it's very sweet that you're here, but really, you should go home. You should do your homework and take care of one another and leave the government to us. Well, Zoe Turner, 17 years old at the time, said, excuse me. We have a tradition in Judaism, lo alecha hamlacha ligmor. You are not obligated to finish the task, but you are not free to walk away. And we're here to hold you accountable, that you would pass legislation, common sense gun legislation, that would keep me and all of my peers and everyone who lives in the state of Florida safe. So we are going to go back to Parkland, but we're not going to take our eyes off of you. And we're not going to let you determine our future. We are going to speak up. So friends, here in Calabasas, at that borderline bar and grill, no, we have a role. And by the way, our role isn't just the elders. We need our young people to lead us, to wake us up, and to teach us. And we're at a particular moment, friends, when there seems to be a whole lot of hate coursing through our culture and our country at this moment. bigotry and hatred are alive and well in numbers that really stagger us. Now, I had the privilege of being at the Heller High in just outside of Jerusalem, and Danny, you were there too. And we had on the Shabbat that the shooting took place in Pittsburgh, we had our prayer service before. It was the same day. And I was talking to Danny and all of our Reformed Jewish teens who were there studying a semester in Israel. And someone asked me about anti-Semitism, said, Rabbi Jacobs, have you experienced anti-Semitism personally in your life? And I gave my answer, and I thought for a minute, whoa. Let's ask all of our participants in Heller High. Can I tell you what was staggering? 2/3 of those teens put their hands up and said that they had personally experienced anti-Semitism in their young lives. Now, we are at a moment where hatred and bigotry is not generic. African Americans are actually experiencing more violence against their community than we are, but anti-Semitism is on its rise as hatred and bigotry are on the rise. So we've got work to do. But the work isn't simply to build more protection, which we have to do, and to harden our buildings, and to make sure we have all the security procedures. We've got to do something even deeper and more profound. So I get to go to places like Congregation Orami in Calabasas, but I also got to go to a place called Congregation B'nai Israel in Fayetteville, Georgia. How many people have been there on a Friday night? Put your hand up. I'm surprised. So I'm in Fayetteville, Georgia. It's not that far out of Atlanta. We have Shabbat dinner, and we're driving to the synagogue, and the leaders of the congregation say, Rabbi, wait till you see when we get to the temple. It's going to be amazing. You're going to be astounded. So they pulled up in front of the sign in front of the temple, and they parked. They said, what do you think? I said, I think I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be seeing. What exactly am I supposed to be seeing? And they said, Rabbi, the sign. Look at the sign. And I looked at the sign for their temple, and it was a nice sign. You know, it had lights on it and a very clear font. And I said, it's really a beautiful sign, but help me out. There's something more you're trying to tell me. He said, Rabbi, this is Klan country. We didn't put a sign in front of our synagogue for years because we were afraid. If we put a sign in front of our congregation, we're saying we're here and we're Jewish. We felt too vulnerable to do that. But now, Rabbi, we have built relationships with all of our neighbors, with the Christians, with the Muslims, with the Buddhists, with the Hindus, with the Sikhs. So we put this big sign and we lit it up because we feel safe in this community. Friends, that's what we've got to do in the world. We've got to build more of those relationships, and you're doing that here at Orami. That's the light of interconnectedness. That's the light of when you harm that community, we are harmed. So when the Jewish community was attacked in Pittsburgh, what happened? People showed up. People showed up, and they did it here and everywhere because we actually have built those relationships, and we are building that kind of interconnectedness. So let me just have one last subject to touch briefly before we get to some Q&A, and that is our beloved Jewish state. It was a couple of years back. I've been working with a small group of people to create an egalitarian pluralistic prayer space at the Western Wall. How many people have been to the Western Wall? Put your hand up. Impressive number. So you know, of course, you got the men's section and the women's section. But we said it's about time for us to have a third section where men and women can do just what we did tonight, which is to pray together and to sing together and to be the liberal, non-Orthodox Jews that we are in public and in pride. So we were working, and frankly, we were almost done, and the Prime Minister called a meeting 2 days before Rosh Hashanah a couple years ago. I said to my wife, I got to zip over to Israel for a quick meeting. She said, that's great, you know, in December or January. I said, no, actually tonight. So we got on the plane, we get there, we walk into the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister looks at me and he says, thank you. And my mother raised 2 kids to know what to say when someone says thank you, so let's just see what Orami does. Someone says thank you, what do you say in response?
Thank you.
What do you say in response to thank you?
You're welcome.
There we go. Yeah. I apologize for putting anybody on the spot. So I say to the Prime Minister, you're welcome. And then I realized I have no idea why he's thanking me. I said, Mr. Prime Minister, may I ask you, please, why were you thanking me? He said, I'll tell you why I was thanking you. I was thanking you because in the recent war in Gaza, the Reform movement had more young people in Israel than any other movement, and that you did not cancel one trip and you did not bring one trip back early. Thank you for the Reform movement's love and support for the state of Israel. Whoa. Whoa. That was, by the way, not to me. That was to you. That was to all of us. That's the kind of connection we have to that place and that community of people. It's about love and it's about commitment. It's also about building more tolerance and more pluralism. So can you hear some good news? Would it be okay if I shared a tiny bit of good news tonight? Would you be okay with that? Would that be something that's going to mess you up, that you came and, I don't know what Jacobs was talking about, but then he told us some good news. I just don't know what to do with that. So the good news is that in spite of the fact that the official policies of the state of Israel have not been particularly loving and warm and frankly supportive of non-Orthodox Judaism, that's putting it mildly, and that we have been pushed a bit away, our movement and the conservative movement are growing in dramatic ways in Israel. In October, the Jewish People's Policy Institute released a study that said that 8% of Jewish Israelis, 8% of Jewish Israelis identify as Reform Jews. 5% identify as conservative Jews. I can do that much math. I became a rabbi, but I can do that much math. That's 13% of Jewish Israelis identify with non-Orthodox Judaism. The total number of ultra-Orthodox Jews in Israel is around 10%. And we've grown, by the way, in the last 8 years on a graph like this. We are growing, we are expanding, and we're helping to shape a more inclusive state of Israel. It is dramatic. It is absolutely what we do. And frankly, our young people, the ones who go and study for a whole semester, the ones who visit, the ones who go on birthright, and all of you who travel, we build more bonds and we leave also a sense of possibility. We in the Reform movement are doubling down because we think this is an opportunity to build even more bonds between the Jewish people and the state of Israel, and that we have something to offer. We're not just there to receive, we're there to bring a sense of mutual love and possibility. So I'm gonna just conclude, and then we're gonna have a chance to have a conversation. Why does this matter? It matters because we're not just a great congregation in Calabasas. By the way, don't tell anybody this. Is this on the live stream? Are they going to hear this?
Yes, they will. Yes.
So this can't just be our secret?
No.
All right. So let me just kind of whisper it then a little closer. This is an unbelievable congregation, an inspiring leader congregation. You are or ami. You are a light of our people, and the light is radiating outward. It's the light of the education, Rabbi Julia, that you're creating that isn't the Hebrew school of yesterday. It's a kind of learning and connectedness and living that we experience at camp and other places, and it is alive and it's beautiful and it's radiating outward, and yes, people are paying attention. And the way you're doing your community organizing, the way you're doing your core work, the way you are loving and caring for one another and standing up for the things that matter, you are expressing in a moment of darkness, in a moment of a plague of darkness, unbelievable and inspiring light. So let the light grow. Let the light radiate. And let Or Ami continue to be a beacon to our whole movement. Indeed. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So we'll have a chance now for there to be some dialogue, some discussion. Questions are fine too. If you have an answer, that's okay as well. And let's. Can we bring?
Yeah, I'll bring the mic.
I think it's full service rabbinical.
I'm told that every question that goes over like a minute and a half or 2 minutes, I get 5 minutes added to Yom Kippur's Kol Nidre sermon. Just know that.
That's a strong incentive. Go long here.
Thank you very much for an inspirational talk. I had one question I think it would be interesting to see in this audience. You asked another congregation how many people had experienced anti-Semitism. I'd like to know what that answer would be in this room tonight.
Let's do that. That's a great question. By the way, that circle, that community asked, we're a group of teens who are studying in Israel. So they're, you know, some of our very best and brightest. Is it fair to just say that without embarrassing Danny? Okay. So put your hand up. This is not, have you read about anti-Semitism? It's not that you're aware of people who are personally affected. It's whether you have been personally affected by anti-Semitism in recent years. Put your hand up if you have a personal story of anti-Semitism. All right, so I think you can see, by the way, that percentage, just not scientifically, not quite as high as the 2/3 of our students, but that was a pretty high, I think, number. And if that were asked 5 years ago, my guess is that there would not be as many hands. We are seeing, ADL is cataloging the increase in anti-Semitism. There's also an increase in hate and bigotry across the board, and that is both concerning and a challenge to all of us. Other questions or thoughts? Obviously, that's a pretty show-stopping one. Please.
Thank you, Rabbi Jacobs. One of the things I've been talking about with Rabbi Wendy Spears and some other concerned young people is how a lot of Reformed Jews, both people my age and people older than me, find it difficult to promote Reformed Judaism in short, concise statements. Do you have some short, concise statements that all of us here can keep in our back pocket when people ask us, why do I love being a Reformed Jew? Why do I love this community? Do you have some short, concise statements for us?
What's with the short, concise? Since when the Jews want short and concise? Rabbi Julia, Rabbi Paul, what is this with the short and concise? I always thought long and meandering is much better than short and concise. What?
I'm with you.
Oh,
you should hear my sermons.
All right. No, but thank you for the question, and it's exactly the right thing. And not even whether it's short and concise. Do people have a compelling, clear expression of who we are? Because for too long, it was all the things we didn't do. Remember Reform Judaism going back a couple of decades? Reform Jews, oh, they don't, and then you fill in the blank, right? They don't wear yarmulkes. They don't pray for 4 hours on Shabbat morning. They don't pray. They don't. It's like, going, really? I want to be part of something where all you can say is what we don't do? What do we do? And I would say, if we're trying to put it in really clear, short ways, I would say Reform Judaism is the Judaism that is ever-changing, that is serious, that is joyful, that is gutsy, and that is loving and kind, and always making an inclusive expression of who and what and how we do our holy work. Now, that wasn't a good one, but you can do that. And when someone asks you in the supermarket, which temple do you belong to, that Or Ami? I hear it's amazing. It must be Chabad if it's amazing, right? No. Not, again, we don't have to disparage anybody. No, we're Reform. Really? It's Reform and people sing? It's Reform and people come and people learn and people do? So we want to reclaim a serious Judaism, which is Reform Judaism. And I think we all could do well to have something in our hip pocket, not to memorize, but give your own expression of why this is your congregation, what it stands for. I think that is something that would be great. And as we reach out and share the amazing thing that we love called Reform Judaism, I bet you we get to bring plenty more people into our midst. Other questions, thought right up here in the front. Rabbi Paul, I'll help out here.
Thank you, Rabbi. We talk about anti-Semitism, but we don't talk about our own Jewish friends who don't like Jews, who bash Israel. And I sit in front of one of my friends and just a recent friend who went to Israel, and I thought, oh my God, this is great. She's going to go to Israel. And she said, oh, the churches were so beautiful and ornate and live it up to the Jew that they're praying against this really ordinary wall. What is wrong with the Jewish people? And I wanted to tell her, you should not be a Jew. You don't deserve to be a Jew. But there is so many of them.
So the point was, we know about anti-Semitism, but what about within the Jewish people, those people who don't have a great love of the Jewish people? And you don't have to go necessarily all the way to Israel. You can experience that, I think in every place. Here's my unscientific answer. I actually don't think that's the large circle. I think we're the large circle, but they make sometimes a lot of noise. And sometimes, frankly, they haven't discovered what actually is precious about this people. And by the way, I love being part of the Jewish people, not because I agree with everybody. I don't even always agree with myself. But how do we find a way to love people who may express and live Jewish life differently, but it comes from love. And I think people who have not experienced it, I'd love to actually give a try at trying to bring them to understand who we are, what we stand for. But you're right to point out that there are such people. I think it's our opportunity to try and, if we can, educate them a bit and bring them into our midst. Maybe by experiencing, by the way, if I got people anywhere near Los Angeles, I'm sending them to Orami, and I dare them, after experiencing the vibrancy of this community, to not understand what's incredibly powerful about being Jewish. But we have people who it's a negative for them, and let's do our level best to try and grow those who do know and love and get to share it. Yes?
Yeah, I wanted to raise something or a question. There was an article, I think it was in the New York Times, about the growing divide between American Jews and Israelis. I guess exacerbated, of course, by the political situation, by settlements. What are your thoughts just in terms of how to bridge that divide, or how to deal as a Reformed Jew in America, how to deal with disagreements with Israeli politics and those sorts of issues?
So it actually was in the New York Times. It was on January 4th. It was an op-ed. I think it was Jonathan Weissman was the author. And what he said was the divide between the diaspora and Israel is becoming more intense, and his prediction was that it was actually going to get even more challenging for us. And your question is the right one. Is there something we can do about that? Is that inevitable? And I think what we're seeing is that there really is a lot of dissonance right now in terms of, frankly, the official policy of the State of Israel. And by the way, sometimes you'll love the policy of the United States. Can I just point out something that's quite obvious to everyone? That sometimes people are very enthusiastic about things politically that are happening here, and others are not. So that's inevitable in any country. The question is, can we connect our connection to Israel deeper than a headline, deeper than a government policy? I'm a person who believes actually that our job as Jews is to raise the hard issues and try to work to make them better. That's what we do here. That's what we do everywhere. And we do it from a place of love. So the Reform movement, we actually announced right as the gap was starting to really widen, that's when we announced that we were doubling down on Israel. That we want to educate a whole generation to connect to the ideals and the people of Israel. You may love today's prime minister, you may love tomorrow's. You may agree with the Supreme Court decision, you may disagree. But our connection is with the people and the ideals. I think that in the United States, there are people who at times have considered, can I really stay in this country given my disagreements? And I think our answer is stay and work, whichever part of the political spectrum you're on. I think the danger is we're seeing a lot of not just disagreement, but disagreement that leads to a kind of dissonance and distance that's unbridgeable. I think that's on all of us, and I think it's important for us to disagree with thoughtfulness, with care, and yet with strength at the same time. So I don't accept the gap as being inevitable. I don't accept it as being permanent. And I think it's on us to help lead the way for more of a sense of mutual strengthening. We had a major Jewish leader who was announced about a year ago, and the first speech he gave, he said that intermarriage was a plague. And I called him up that night and I said, with all due respect, you may believe that. I actually think it's a very misguided appreciation. But if you do think that, you should never say that. That's actually not what our experience is. We actually see that intermarriage is a reality, and we see interfaith families raising spectacular Jewish families and taking leadership in our Jewish community. That was an opportunity to, again, bridge the gap, share our experience. And Israel gives us so much life and vitality. We have something very profound to share with Israel. And we have a people who disagree on pretty much everything. That's been our way since the time of the Talmud and before. But let's learn the art of sacred disagreement, which is very different than arguing and being, I think, really vicious and divisive. We can do this in a holy way. Yes?
Our sociologists, our Reform community sociologists, Dr. Bruce Phillips, Dr. Stephen Windmuller, as well as our own experiences, have been that Jewish summer camping is one of the main things that help Jewish young people feel love for Judaism, feel a belonging in Judaism. And I know that the summer camps do a lot of leadership development of young people too. Can you talk to us more about what's happening with our URJ summer camps and,
Sure.
and leadership development?
Thank you for the question. So we actually last summer did something that no organization or movement in Judaism did. We opened 2 new summer camps last summer. One of them, I think, a very short distance from here at Cal Lutheran, where we opened our 6-point Sci-Tech camp for science and technology. We opened as well last summer a 6 Points Creative Arts Camp outside of Philadelphia. And we did something also that was quite painful, and you know from fires. A year ago, we had a fire at Camp Newman that was devastating. Within 3 weeks, thanks to people like your rabbis, we were able to identify Cal Maritime as the site of our last summer's kind of temporary home for camp. We've done the studies, we did one last year by Rossoff Consulting, found that the alumni of NIFTY and camps are so powerfully impacted by their experience that it actually is even higher than the impact of even day school. It is immersive experience. 4 out of 5 alumni of our summer camps in NIFTY identified not only as being Jewish, but are connected to synagogues and minyans and Havarot. Over 80% say being Jewish is very important. It changes and shapes lives, which is also part of what's amazing about Or Ami, because you've brought that sense of what camp can be and put it into the very marrow here. So we're continuing to grow the system, and we want to be smart about how we do it. And we're also being strategic about making sure that the experience of camp isn't isolated, but becomes more dominant and connected to all the places where we live Jewish life. I remember I came back, my mom signed me up for Camp Swig when I was a young man. Anybody here attend Camp Swig? Yeah, it was the camp before Camp Newman. I remember my mom said, I'm going to Jewish summer camp. I said, really? Are they like going to bring the organ from our synagogue? Are they going to bring the desks? Am I going to sit there with a chalkboard and have to wear like my little blazer and be uncomfortable like for 3 weeks in the summer? I'm not going. She said, you are going, and it's not going to be bad. It's going to be good. Well, that experience was so powerful. I came back and went to services the first Friday night, and I started to cry. It was so dissonant from what camp had been. And my rabbi saw how upset. He said, what's the matter? I said, camp prayer was so beautiful, alive, and just, it just grabbed us, and tonight wasn't. But I can tell you that the campers who come back from wherever they go to Jewish summer camp, come back to Or Ami, they're not going to identify a dissonance. They're going to see there's a congruence. We want to build and grow that. We have ways to make sure that Jewish experiences are both soul-searing and intellectually honest and invigorating. We know how to do that. We need to do more of it. And Or Ami, guess where you are when that conversation happens? You're at the head of the pack, because you're doing it, and you're sending and you're committing to not only the local camps, but to our camping endeavors altogether. Maybe one last really good one.
Yeah, I'm going to take that. I can't tell you if it's good or not. But the last question. Dream for us. What's your hope? What's your dream for the Reform movement? For not just Reform Judaism, but Judaism in general, as we move later into the 21st century and beyond. What's the hope and the dream?
I like that guy. You love him too?
Softball.
You love So a hope and a dream. First of all, I wish that we in the Jewish community could stop all this doom and gloom. The idea that we have this notion, well, the last person out, please turn out the lights. As if somehow we're in a downward spiral. Jewish life is one of the greatest gifts that we actually will ever know. And my dream for this movement, and it's a dream for our people, and thank you for broadening it, because I actually think that we are, we're not an organization, we're a movement of people who love the Jewish tradition's gift to us to lead lives of purpose and depth. I actually dream and hope that we continue to grow our movement. Not shrink, not have this mindset of scarcity and demise, but the notion that we are a force for good. And that we also, and this is the hard part of that dream, that we also, as much as we widen and be inclusive, which we must do, we're like the pool that has to have lots of shallow water for people to come into the pool. It's got to be warm, it is. But we need to get more people into the deep water. The deep water where you really understand how transformative Jewish practice and Jewish community and Jewish values are when lived deeply. That is my dream, and it's not a dream that is beyond our reach. It's a dream that we can actually make real. Just to lay it back into your laps, it's what you're building here. I actually have a dream, Rabbi Kipnis, Rabbi Weiss, Cantor Kotler, that wherever I go to services on a Friday night or Saturday morning, I'll feel the way I felt here tonight. Shabbat Shalom.
So as our Madrakei Shira, if our interns will pull down here a little bit, as our Madrakei Shira come up and get prepared, Rabbi Jacobs, thank you for, first of all, flying out and leaving the frigid cold of New York to be out here. And thank you tonight for going down to visit your mother. How old? 88 years old, down in Orange County. Thank you for reminding us that what we do here is both part of something incredibly larger, the Reform movement, that's doing incredible things, and that what we're doing is unique because we take seriously the learning and the loving and the inclusion and the Torah and more. We like to say that we are Orami proud because at Congregation Orami, you're home. So if it were me, I'd put it right on my head, but you get a head of hair, so we have for you your Orami branded hat. So you should always have, and if you want one, we have a pop socket for the back of your phone. But you reminded us that Judaism, Reform Judaism, is not a passive thing. It's about going out and welcoming people in. It's about connecting with Israel. It's about standing up for justice. It's about committing to our youth. It's about showing up on Shabbos to learn and think. It's about singing and lifting and loving. And so tonight, we'll conclude as we do at all the summer camps you go to, as we do at every Shabbos and every gathering we have here. We'll sing a prayer asking God to watch over us and let us rise up to goodness. Thank you for being here. Thank you for teaching us. I'll give you the words. Sing with us. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu.
L'shalom. L'shalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu. L'chaim. Ufros Aleinu, Sukkot Shlomecha. Ufros Aleinu, Sukkot Shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings. O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things. O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night. Till we wake with morning's light. Teach us Eli wrong from right. O Adonai. Amen. So the first act that God does after creating the world is God clothes Adam and Eve. And the last act that God does in the Torah scroll, in Torah, is God buries Moses, God's self. The first is an act of chesed, of unconditional, unconditioned, limitless, overflowing love. And the last act is unconditional, unconditioned, overflowing love, chesed. And our rabbis teach that everything between the beginning and the end is supposed to lead us not towards being right and not towards being just the only ones or the most chosen ones. It's about filling the world with chesed. So what do we do when we go out there? What does it mean to be a Reformed Jew? To get out there and bring chesed into the world. Not just here, not just to the ones you know, but to everybody. Then we will surely be able to sing. Thank you to our chorale. Thank you to our musicians. Thank you to our, Rabbi Julia, don't go anywhere. Thank you to our singers, our Madrichei Shirah, to everyone. We're going to go out for an oneg and to make Kiddush and Motzi. I'm going to ask Amanda to lead us in that. I'm going to ask the past presidents to come join us up on the bima, as well as the current one. And to you, we all say Shabbat Shalom. Michael?